Just pre-screen this.
Pre-screening.
Okay, these aren't bad questions. These are good questions.
Awesome. We can start this off right.
All right. So when you're ready.
Okay. What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Texture Pop podcast on
Hey, if that was
professionalism
my
at its finest.
turn.
Is it?
Yeah, you told me to host just now.
I just told you to start. Here, you do the intro then.
Welcome everybody to the Texture Pop on professionalism at its finest. I am your host for the moment, Brandon Lee Carey. Joining me as always is Chris Acharya
Hey again.
and Garrett G, otherwise known as G Squared.
Hello. Yeah. G squared.
You
My
would-
math teacher actually used to call me that. He was like,
I
"Hey,
never
G
thought
squared."
of that.
Yeah, he was like G squared.
I came with that up just now.
I can't help but be reminded of that one guy. What was his name? Tom Taylor. Like he was T squared.
Yeah,
He,
from
like,
the,
played-
from the
yeah.
MLG team straight ripping.
Yeah, he played Halo professionally.
Yeah, and then he gave tips for shooters on XPlay.
Yeah,
back when that was a really good show.
That was basically why I knew him. I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy. Just for some reason, I always just thought he was a douchebag. For no reason.
Ever since that show stopped, I have heard nothing regarding him.
Okay.
And I have not bothered looking him up, so I don't even know if he's still a person anymore.
Maybe I just didn't like the look of him. I don't know. I have nothing against him personally. Honestly, it's just I don't know.
Well, it might be a backlash to the fact that his team name has numbers in place of letters.
Maybe.
Like straight, like literally is an 8 there, ripping.
Yeah, probably. But you got a question?
Yes, we have viewer questions. We're going to start off with those, even though Sam is not here, but he will be joining us momentarily.
Okay.
Okay, first question. Hey, guys. After Chris discussed Hyrule Warriors last episode, it reminded me of something that has been confounding me. So my first question is this. Why do so many people seem to hate Skyward Sword? Is it because it messed with the Zelda formula too much? Is it the motion controls? I'm really curious because I've, for one, enjoyed it quite a good deal. I even argue it was one of the best games in the franchise.
So from personal experience, I do own that game. I never finished it though, and I think one of the big things was Fi. She was like, shit. She was Navi, but turned up to 10.
And there were so many other Greek letters you could use for her name, like Phi, really?
Fi.
Yeah, why not Sigma?
She just seemed super annoying. Like, she would not shut up. And the thing was, like, that game, I know some of the games after Ocarina had a slow start to kind of ease you into all this shit, because you're not playing in 2D anymore. But Twilight Princess was awesome. But Skyward Sword had a painfully slow start. It took you forever before you got to, like, whatever this game's form of the overworld was, and you started going into dungeons. That was my personal experience with it. And then,
from what I remember reading reviews on it, a lot of the reviews discussed a general dislike of how wonky the control scheme was.
Yeah, it was this whole thing because it required the motion control plus.
And I recall even during the demo they had with Miyamoto playing, they still had issues.
Yeah.
Like during the E3 demonstration.
From the time that I spent with it, like I put a good amount of time into that game, and I had gotten to the first real dungeon, and I think I beat the first boss. I can't remember, but I just remember not liking that combat at all. Like, I had no problem with Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess was alright, and I finished that game, but Skyward Sword, like, the combat in that was just... I did not like the enemy behavior in particular. The way you had, like, dudes that you run into at the beginning of the game was just awful. Like, I think that was the biggest thing that put me off about that whole experience, was the combat. And I didn't even get far enough into, like, some of the shit that a lot of other people bitch about, like the...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Skyward Sword very open in terms of its design, where you could go to any temple, like, at any point in time?
I don't think it was that open, although I do remember there was this whole thing, like, I guess there were side quests in the game, and there was a notable bug that Nintendo had to put out, like, a channel patch for, that if you did something in the wrong order, your save was fucking broken. And you had to go into this whole... I remember they put this out. It was a channel that you would download to the Wii that was made for the specific purpose of fixing your broken Skyward Sword save file. Like,
because if it
shit.
was that open in terms of design, or at least somewhat more open than typical Zelda games, I could imagine. I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan of Zelda. Never really have been. But as someone who studies game design, what I imagine could have happened is that when you make the game more open, you can't assume anything of what the player might have. Like if you make Zelda linear, you can assume at X point when you go into X temple, you can assume they have Y set of gear. You can assume they have whatever weapons you've given them before because they've had to have gone through the other dungeons in order to get to this dungeon. But if you have an open-ended design, you cannot make that assumption because you don't know what order the player is playing temples in. And as a result, you have to base the puzzles in the temple around exactly one item, which is the item they're getting in that temple.
Like, there was a lot more room for error, and I could totally see that. Although, at the same time, we had the very, very first original Zelda game. That game did not hold your hand, and you really could go where you wanted to if you had the right equipment. Yeah. But, and granted, I know that might not be as fair a comparison, considering, it was an 8-bit game compared to, like, something with, full-on, 3D, graphics and all that shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, there was a lot more exploration in that game as opposed to, like, what Zelda games would be, since Link to the Past. Although, A Link Between Worlds, people love the shit out of, and that game is somewhat open-ended, and the fact that you can rent equipment and go to whatever dungeon you want.
Right, but they can assume that you have that equipment or have access to that equipment.
Yes.
And that's the fundamental difference, is that in Skyward Sword, the designers cannot make any assumptions with regard to what equipment you have, whereas in A Link Between Worlds, they can assume that if you don't have equipment right now, you can find it in some capacity before you enter a dungeon.
Yeah.
Which allows them to at least make some interesting designs based on what they assume you have access to. Whereas in Skyward Sword, if you have you can't assume anything. You have to design things based on what's in that dungeon and nothing else.
The last thing I'll say about Skyward Sword that I know a lot of people bitched about was this reoccurring boss fight with this thing called the Imprisoned, which I have seen more of thanks to Hyrule Warriors, but the Imprisoned, it just seemed like such a shitty boss fight, and you had to do that multiple times throughout the course of the game. That sounds terrible. I don't know.
I didn't have anything to say. I was just literally, my throat is dry.
No. Yeah. But I think that can pretty much sum up that question.
And we have one more question, which is, as a follow-up, I'm curious, were any of you guys Shonen Jump readers back in the day? They started publishing the magazine here in the U.S. back when I was in high school, and I tried to read every single issue that was published. I know at least one of you guys is an anime guy, so I'm curious.
That's why we wish Sam were here. He'd probably have something to say about this.
Legitimately, I actually was a Shonen Jump reader for a while.
Really?
Like, not a very long time, like 2 or 3 years, but it was not very long enough to get really hardcore into it, but long enough that I knew basics.
Garrett, you were going to say something?
No, I was just saying, yeah, me too.
Well, did you read it?
Shonen Jump? I've been, yeah, I used to be into Shonen Jump. I was just saying I've been into Shonen Jump.
I mean, for a while, they were the place to go for like some of the more popular manga out there.
Yeah. But then I would go out and just buy the manga.
Although now that Naruto is over.
Oh no! Whatever will we do?
I heard that they actually officially shipped Sasuke and Sakura as a couple in the finale. Which is the most abusive relationship in the entire series by far.
Jesus.
No.
Like, when you think about it, like there is no reason Sakura should stay with him because he's a complete and total asshole.
He's an emo.
I mean, on top of being emo git.
Yeah, fucking emo git. I love that. That's actually a word in the vocabulary now. Emo git. It's beautiful. But yeah. emo, and honestly, I'd be like, whatever. Maybe he's gone through some shit. And apparently he has, but he's such a dick too. It's like, man, fuck you.
God doesn't know how to smile.
No.
Do you ever get pissed off at characters that just scowl all the time and never smile?
Kind of, yes.
Like you just want to punch him in the face and say, "Could you please smile for once in your fucking life?"
Yeah, Wolverine,
Yeah.
Jean doesn't like you. Get over it.
Not everyone heals as fast as you do, Wolverine.
We get your parents are dead, Batman.
But the one
that was
thing that
years
never
ago.
the one thing that never truly healed was his heart.
Have you guys been reading Wolverine, Death Wolverine?
No, but
No,
I've
I
heard
have
it was
not.
terrible.
Really?
The review that I saw was on The Escapist, and they're basically just saying that, yeah, that happens. Who cares? And again, it's this. I know we've talked about this before. It's just this whole cynical thing of how long until they bring him back, because Wolverine's way too much of a marketable character right now for him to stay dead.
But yeah, that is all of Dance's questions for today. He just at the end he just thanks us for wanting to put him on the show at some point in time.
We'll get there, buddy. But yeah, folks, if you got a question or story or something, whatever you want to ask us, maybe we'll read it on the air, just send an email to thetexturepop@gmail.com.
Yeah, just anything if you want to talk to us and if you want to have us talk about you on the air.
Sure, why not? So, something that got brought to my attention earlier this week. Garrett,
Sure.
would you agree that the MOBA market right now is pretty fucking competitive?
Yes.
So, in the past, I had made mention of a game called Dawngate, which I tried out some time ago. It was in
I heard about it.
Yeah. This was basically EA's attempt at a MOBA. And unfortunately, as some people may have heard, it came out in open beta this year, which lasted for 6 months, and now it's closed. It is done. Canceled. And I think for some people, not a lot of people are surprised, and it was to the point where you could buy stuff, because they have had to come out and say that anybody who spent money on the game would get a full refund, as they should, for something that was only around for 6 months. Like if a game is out there for like 5 years and you put money into it and then it just closes down, you know,
That's kind of your problem. But
yeah, that's reasonable to expect. You know, the EULA and stuff like that. It's it's there for a reason, but yeah, and EA, of course, obviously they would have had no problem throwing money into development for a MOBA if they could make that sweet League of Legends or Dota 2 money. But that's not always the case.
I mean, they tried getting the MMOs with the global public, and we saw how that ended up.
Oh, God, yeah, that is... Ooh, yeah.
I'm just going to drop that mic right now.
Yep. But, I mean...
Drop the bass.
You know, I mean, Garrett, I mean, you personally, you as many hours as you put into League, as well as seeing like all the other games that come out trying to be like League.
I absolutely love League. Yeah. If they shut down, I'd be pretty pissed off.
You could
Well,
say it's
yeah.
in a league of its own.
But oh God,
Okay, Dicklod.
But I mean, but I'm curious, like, as somebody who plays, a fair amount of League of Legends, like, I'm curious, like, what you think of, like, some of these other games that try to come along, and some of them don't really last, they don't really catch on. Some of them maybe do catch on, but obviously they don't. Like, I'm curious what you think about some of this.
They don't catch that status,
Right?
And I think with a MOBA, that's very hard, simply because of what League has become, and League has become this major event. I think if you're going to be a MOBA in this day and age, or at this time, considering League, you need to do something different. Smite
Yeah.
did that with its camera angle. It was simple. They said, we're going to change the camera angle to a third-person camera angle. Maybe if you wanted to make a first-person, but then again, you'd be called a ripoff of Smite now. Or like maybe, I don't know, you change something. You have to find something that makes you different.
You have to find
and then people will... Exactly.
I know.
And then you'll have something to go on to.
Yeah, because I
And
know
then you
Dawngate was trying to do something different with its game modes. Like, they didn't want their maps to be just like League. They wanted their maps to have like different objectives, and they were trying to do everything they possibly could to cater to like whatever feedback they were getting. But at the end of the day, because their explanation of why they decided to close it down was basically what the game was turning into was not something that we felt was what we wanted to make. So we just decided, we can't really do it, and we just decided it'd be better to just scrap it now than to try to keep going and let it turn into something that's just going to be horrible. Which, that's not their exact words, but it's kind of what their attitude was towards the whole thing. Because it's difficult to try to do something new. And Garrett, I'm sure you can attest to this. League of Legends is not the same game as Dota 2, nor is Dota 2 like League.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure people would draw comparisons to that, but if you went into Dota 2 and you tried to play it like you did League of Legends, it would not be that good. The same thing for like people who are like, "Oh, I play Dota 2, I should be good at League," right? Nope.
Exactly. There is a difference there, and I think I actually haven't heard a whole lot on Dota 2 recently, and I think that kind of shows how Dota 2 is kind of petering off a bit, in my opinion. I think.
Well, I know the Nationals were back in May.
Yeah, but I didn't hear really much about them. And then you have League, and it's like every single person in my game dev class. It's like, so what do you play? They're like, oh my god, League, and the fucking the Worlds 14, and oh my god,
people outside of the internet are actively into it.
Yeah, and then I'm like, what about Dota 2? They're like, fuck Dota. Like, oh, okay.
But I mean, that seems to be the general consensus, though. Like people who
and then even on the internet, it's like, oh, the League finals, and then you'll hear about Smite, and people are like, oh yeah, Smite's fun.
Yeah, Smite. I mean,
that's all you hear. But no one mentions Dota.
It seems like Dota's fallen out of favor.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really does.
Dota has Valve behind it, and
although at the same token, TF2 also seems to have fallen out of favor as well. Now I think about it,
I never really. I always considered TF2.
I mean, for some reason, a lot of people have been like really hardcore hitting on TF2. I don't know I don't know why I haven't played in a while.
No, I wouldn't be bashing on it. I haven't played it that much because I'm like, yeah, it's fun. It's a fun, stupid little first-person shooter. I don't consider it like a sport.
It seems like everyone has their own notion of when TF2 jumped the shark, and no one's in agreement on when that was or if it's still.
I know a lot of people feel it's like when hats got involved.
I was about to say
that. That's the rough time, but the exact time is so debatable.
Yeah. But Dota 2, like, it has Valve behind it. Infinite Crisis, that's still going mostly because of the DC Comics license. Which I don't think that game even got. No, it did get out of beta, I think.
I think it did. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not in beta. Like it actually, they just said like, okay,
now
the game is out. Yeah, now it's out. It's free to play. But and as myself, a guy who is a DC Comics fan, and I had put a little bit of money down just so I could buy Superman, but I haven't really been actively playing that game.
Yeah, I've heard nothing about that game. I saw an ad in PC Gamer, and that was it.
And something I'm surprised I don't hear about it unless I seek it out, but Heroes of New Worth, that's still a thing.
Never heard of it.
Apparently, yeah, that's something like, if I'm on a forum and a new MOBA gets announced and people are like, between LoL, Dota, and Heroes of New Worth, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's that last one? And then I go and look it up, and it's like, oh, it's this great big thing that has been around, yet no one I know is playing it.
I'd never even heard of it up until this point.
You can look it up, and you'll see, like, yeah, it is this big established thing, but I don't know a damn person who's playing it. Sorry, call dropped.
Okay, he's back.
Yeah, we're back
Make sure
now.
the recording is working still.
No, I know what to do when that happens. It is when the call drops, I stop it, and then when the call gets back up, I go back into it again.
All right, so we're good.
Yeah. But
Anyway.
but Dawn Gate, I don't think people are going to be too broken up about it. It was only around for 6 months, and it seemed like something that they were trying their damnedest to make this different, though. And that's something I think I'm going to remember most about the whole thing, was that the development team, they really tried, and they tried hard. But at the end of the day, I guess they just felt like, we can't, maybe our aspirations are bigger than what we're capable of doing. So, I'm sure EA will get them to do something else, like make some new shit for Battlefield or whatever, but...
All that Titanfall DLC. I think actually they ended the Titanfall DLC. They were like, yeah, we released everything we need to, done.
Well, actually, they put out the 4-player co-op mode for wave-based survival, the Frontier Defense.
Yeah, didn't they? Well, wasn't that just a thing that they released? That was like one of those like, oh, for only 1 week you can play this game type.
No, I think it's like out. Like, that is a mode that you can still access. Like, you and I will probably have to try it later, because I know Sam was also, we were going to try to get in on it and do a few games. I've played a few matches of it. It's pretty alright.
It's pretty fun, yeah.
Yeah, like,
It's tough.
Yeah, but right off the bat, I prefer it as opposed to the standard team-based multiplayer that Titanfall was built around.
I got really sad. I was watching a Call of Duty game, and I was like, I hate Call of Duty. I do want to play an FPS, though, on multiplayer. I played, oh my god.
We just need to replay our Gauntlet thing one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. But I played Battlefield, and I rage quit. I was like, fuck this game. And then I was like, man, I want to go. I have to go back and play Bad Company 2. For some reason, Bad Company 2, to me, had like one of the best online systems. And I don't know what about the new games. The new games just feel off. They don't feel like Battlefield. They feel very different.
Yeah.
In a way I don't like.
I'm sure there are a number of people that would agree with you, because I know...
But what is it? What?
Like, it's hard to put your finger on.
Well, as an up-and-coming game designer, it's your responsibility to play the game and figure out the difference.
That is true.
I expect an essay on my desk by the end of the week.
3 pages.
Off. I wrote a case study this weekend, bitch.
1,000 words or more.
Fuck you, I'm only doing 2 pages. It's gonna be triple spaced.
That should be like 1,000. That should be like 1,000.
Probably.
2 pages. That's like 1,000. Pretty good.
But Garrett, I think I got just what you need if you need another first-person shooter in your life that is not military-based.
Neo Tokyo. Neo Tokyo is more strategic. I want just kind of a run and gun, stupid, like, kind of game.
I wasn't going to say that, but that's not a bad suggestion. But, so did any of you guys happen to see Blizzard announcing a new IP with Overwatch?
Oh, right. I heard about that.
Yes.
I heard about this.
That's when you play XCOM and you have your character sit still and do some reaction fire, right?
Not exactly.
I haven't seen this. All I know is, so Blizzard's making an FPS. What?
Isn't it multiplayer only, from what I recall correctly?
Yes. So this is a team-based multiplayer game, kind of in the vein of stuff like Team Fortress 2, but it has a really cartoony aesthetic to it.
So it's like TF2.
So it's like Loadout. Yeah, or TF2.
Kind of, yeah, with the fact that whereas Team Fortress 2 kind of has a more mature sensibility to it because of, allowing gore and, cuss words and all that colorful stuff. Whereas
Loadout, yeah.
Overwatch feels like it is a Saturday morning cartoon, because they do this whole story trailer thing where like these kids are in a museum, and we'll leave some links in the description for this. But it's like it's this really big thing. I mean, one of the character classes is a talking gorilla who wears glasses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a robot that has the ability to turn itself into a turret.
Oh God! So I lost my shit when I saw that. I was like, "Oh, cool, a robot!" And then
And
when
he can repair himself too.
then when he
Wait a
transformed
second.
into the turret, I was like, "Oh, I want that!"
Hang on. I think I know what you're talking about. Nope. Okay. Nope. I was thinking of Battleborn.
during BlizzCon, there was like you see in your Twitter feed. It's like there was like nothing. There's nothing in BlizzCon, and all of a sudden Overwatch comes up, and you'll know the exact point because every single fucking person in your Twitter feed will talk about it at that exact moment in time.
Now,
I was thinking of all I heard was robot, and I went, wait, a shooter with
Chicks
a robot.
dig giant robots.
And so I went to look at my Game Informer, and nope, I'm thinking of Battleborn because that also has a suave British like steampunk robot wearing a tailored suit and a bowler hat.
Wasn't
and a
that
monocle.
also Super Monday Night Combat? If anybody else remembers that,
I'm too young.
Huh.
because Super Monday Night Combat also had this robot who had like a derby hat and a monocle. But for Blizzard's game Overwatch, there are like I don't know, like 15 different classes. There was a lot of them. Like I lost count. And
I spy with my little eye. It's spy.
But the game certainly looks interesting. Now I'll admit, the story trailer. I guess I can't really call it a story trailer. I mean, it was just basically just this big kind of overblown cinematic thing.
It's a premise trailer.
Because Blizzard is really good at making those, and because of the aesthetic, it wasn't like any of the super heavy photorealistic shit like you see in Diablo or World of Warcraft. This was a very much more lighthearted thing. Like it was so cartoony and everything, and the way the characters were designed, I just looked at it and went, "Yep, I could see action figures of that."
Although two things are going to interest me when this becomes a bit bigger as a story is A, how people are going to react to a multiplayer-only shooter, especially after what happened with Titanfall, and B, what's its price point going to be?
That's it. So I mean, that was the other thing, but, and I'll get to that in a minute, but like, as far as my reaction to the trailer, I was geeking out about the premise trailer, and then when I saw the gameplay trailer, I was like, oh, okay, so it's a multiplayer shooter. That's alright. And, because I was just bummed, like, if it's going to be multiplayer only, like, I would love if Blizzard actually made, like, a dedicated, like, shooter with, like, a campaign that has all these crazy characters, and maybe there's co-op, that would be pretty cool. But for now, it's like, okay, so it's a multiplayer shooter, there's a shitload of classes, that's alright. But yeah, getting to the idea of like how much this is going to cost, what is it actually going to be? Would it be free to play? Maybe.
Because I know of two multiplayer-only shooters in the top of my head. Is that there is Titanfall, which launched for $60 and did really badly. Like it did well the first week, and then no one ever thought of it ever since then.
Yeah.
And the other one was Killzone 3 because they sold on PSN the multiplayer component only for $15. And that was very successful.
They did the same thing with what was it, Starfall? No.
I know they did for Uncharted 3 as well, though that was free.
Starhawk, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I heard Starhawk was good.
Yeah, Starhawk, they did that same thing to where, like, you could buy a retail disc that has a multiplayer component and this tutorial-esque campaign, or you can buy them separate on PSN, which I didn't bother with either one because I don't think anybody I knew was playing it.
No, so, I never bothered with either one of those either because it's funny. Interesting.
And it's funny we talk shit about Titanfall, although myself, Garrett, and Sam all do own copies of that game.
Yeah,
and I do get a kick out of it, but
I'm just stunned how quickly that game fell off the face of the map.
Yeah, that's hard to ignore. But yeah, and it does kind of bring I mean, would they try to market this the way Valve has been marketing TF2? Would they try to make it free to play? Would the characters be sold piecemeal? Because there are a lot of classes. I would not be surprised if Blizzard said for free, you get like 5 of these dudes, and then if you want the rest of them, you can either play the game to get some in-game currency to get the rest of them for free, or you just straight up buy them, plainly.
Like as someone who likes looking at the business side of games every once in a while, this is going to be an interesting data point for me, just to like analyze how well this game does.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Blizzard never really has made a shooter at all.
On the other hand, they've never done wrong before, for the most part, except for Diablo 3. Well, their fan base is rabid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
let me rephrase that. Their fan base is rabid.
Yeah, I mean, because there are people that look at Blizzard as the Nintendo of the PC world, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, theoretically, if multiplayer shooter, it has everything going against it. But if Blizzard's doing it, it's hard to tell exactly how well this game will do.
It could do well.
It truly is hard to tell until we actually see those data points coming out.
I mean, especially they've got Battle.net working for them. They've got that whole interface and everything that's going with them, and I do think it is a good idea, especially because we have no idea how much longer WoW is going to stick around. Yeah, I know they've got a new expansion, but I don't.
But WoW's numbers have been decreasing steadily.
Yeah, I don't know.
Years.
I was going to say I don't know anybody who gives a shit about it, but I actually do know one person on my friends list on Battle.net that still gives a shit. So,
you're still doing well compared to most MMOs out there. It's just It's just that its numbers have been dwindling in a fairly steady rate for the past couple of years.
Yeah, and of course they still got Heroes of the Storm, which is their whole MOBA thing of here's our franchises in a thing.
I haven't heard anything about that in a while.
I know they went into the technical alpha, and I know that because I got invited to it, so see how that is.
All right, so is there anything else gaming news related that we should talk about?
Not that I could think of. I'm
right,
sure there is some other shit that happened, but those were kind of the things that I have of interest, so.
I mean, aside from the Valkyria Chronicles PC release.
Which we just heard about.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
that's going to be fucking awesome.
That drops. That will probably be out by the time this podcast goes on the air. So
I am excited for all the PC players who never had to play that game and now will have a chance to, because it is a really, really good game.
I will attest to that. That is a good game that I once owned it on my PS3, and because I'm a dumbass, I said to myself...
And it's a very unique game as well.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
In terms of its art style, the way it plays. Not story, not so much, but it's still a decent story.
I still can't help but remember this whole joke that Yahtzee had of, it's like the Japanese are making a World War II game. What is this, community service? Like,
I remember when Yahtzee made it clear that the sister was the adopted daughter, not biological daughter.
Yeah.
Because the game does make that terribly clear in really the creepiest way possible.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, Valkyria Chronicles. I purchased that, and I have not pre-loaded it yet, because I have more than likely don't have the fucking hard drive space for it. 16.5 gigs. So...
You probably have enough space in your drive. It's just
I probably
take
do.
Forever to download.
Yeah. On my fucking 256.
That's something that I would just leave on overnight for a couple nights in a row.
Yeah, like 3 fucking days.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I am glad I have it. So now I'll have it on Steam. So just to break into our usual shenanigans, Garrett.
Yes.
What you been doing?
Been playing a little bit of Neo Tokyo, having fun in that. God, really haven't been doing anything. Honestly.
So for people like myself, what is Neo Tokyo?
It's a good question. I want to know that too.
Neo Tokyo is a tactical first-person shooter, very much like Ghost Recon.
Okay.
What's the premise?
There's two. It's the future, and Tokyo has become Neo Tokyo.
Hence the title?
Yeah. And it's an island, and there's it's become sort of a police state, and so there's a group of rebels trying to kind of go against that, like a Viva la Revolution kind of bullshit. Typical kind of with shooters.
So how does the futuristic aspects work its way into the gameplay?
Well, you have the characters that have different classes, like Recon, who has no armor, but they can go invisible, and stuff like that, like invisibility, weapons, kind of in the same way that Advanced Warfare did it.
I remember Advanced Warfare.
With the award-winning actor Kevin Spacey.
Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. No, because you mentioned Ghost Recon earlier, so I'm thinking of that still. But
yeah, but no, it's a little like Ghost Recon, and there's two game modes. There's two game modes. You play on either team. You can be on the police team, and then you can play on the resistance team.
Do they play differently?
No, not really.
I imagine it's like,
that would have been interesting.
Faction. I mean, it's factions. It's.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, that's somewhat disappointing because it just feels like they should play differently.
Well, to my understanding, because I think I looked into this. This is a mod, right?
Yes, this is a mod, Half-Life 2 mod. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this isn't a standalone thing. This is a full-on mod, though.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it that makes less disappointing in hindsight.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to point that out because, it'd be easy to.
I had no idea, so that was something I should have pointed out.
That's why I wanted to point it out, though.
Continue, Garrett.
So I've just been playing a bit of that, and I'm actually playing it right now. I'm in a firefight. Sorry. Oh, fuck.
So yeah. How is it?
Fucker threw a grenade. Now he's laughing at me maniacally. Which is kind of funny. But anyway, so it's fun. It's there's two game modes. There's deathmatch, and in either game mode you can win. Fuck, they won. You can win by killing everybody, or there's the other game mode, which is almost like capture the flag. In the game, a ghost will spawn, and a ghost is very Ghost in the Shell like, where it is a like a robot torso.
It's Dinklebot.
It's a robot. No, thank Christ, it's not. It's a robot. It's a robot torso. We can't go one fucking podcast without mentioning goddamn Destiny, can we?
You know what? That reminded me of something, but do go on.
I thought of that as I said it, but at that point, I couldn't help myself any longer.
Let's let Garrett finish.
It was the point of no return. You just had to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was it's very Ghost in the Shell like. It's a torso with no arms of a robot, and you have to bring that to your station to extract information out of it, and that's about it. You can also lean in the game, which is actually kind of cool for a first-person shooter.
Ooh.
Yeah, hitting Q or W lets you.
More
lean.
games should do that.
Yeah, the lean feels a little fucking bastard. Yeah, fuck you. I see you.
Like aside
anyway,
from Thief and Dishonored, I can't think of any games that do that really, and that's a really useful feature to have in a.
Didn't Deus Ex do that?
No, it did not.
Oh.
You'd think it would, but it didn't.
Oh, I'm pretty sure fucking Call of Duty does that though. That's.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to expose your entire body when you're looking over the corner. You just want to expose your head.
No.
Yeah, but like so you can lean, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's fun. It's tactical. It's very much like Ghost Recon, and I enjoy it. It's like you can kill somebody with like three shots, and that's it. Like pop, pop, and they're gone.
Now, because as we mentioned earlier, like this is a mod for Half-Life 2, and doesn't cost anything, right?
No. It's also got fantastic music.
Oh, nice. So if you've got Half-Life 2 on your Steam account, which I'm pretty sure...
Which if you don't, why are you on Steam?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think you even need it. I think it comes in your downloads. You automatically have the stuff you need.
Yeah, so certainly check out Neo Tokyo.
Yeah, the Source SDK.
Awesome. So anything else going on, Garrett? Just...
Not really. I'm a boring human being, and I do absolutely nothing. So
Don't say that.
You're not boring. You're busy.
No, I've done nothing. We're making a game we're kind of sort of making a game in...
That to me qualifies as busy.
Yeah. And then I've played some video games, and that's about it. Yeah, I've done nothing.
Oh, you've done something. Don't do that.
We play... well, I guess I can talk about the game we're making. We're making a game... I didn't come up with the entirety of the idea, but I came up with a bit of it. And it was the... I actually had an idea that people thought was really funny.
What was it?
I think he's in a firefight.
Hang on, I'm in a firefight.
Yep.
I'm killing bitches, though.
I knew it.
Got it. All right, just killed like 3 bitches. All right, so hang on. Anyway, so the game is about a cat and a mouse, and they're in a level.
Those firefights must be really...
Yeah.
They are. Sorry, people are also talking because they can't shut the fuck up.
Oh no.
Oh, the worst part is when you play online and someone's playing loud-ass, boring-ass, annoying-ass music on their headphones. I can't stand people who do that.
I have memories of people doing stupid shit like that in the days when...
If you were someone that does that, I would like for you to get shot in real life.
I think somebody fucking did that after I picked up Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and sure enough, there was some fucking jackass that was doing that on purpose.
Because you were online, dude. You are not a DJ. I don't give a fuck.
No.
We won. Okay, but anyway, so the game is you play a cat, and there's a cat and a mouse, and they're on a... I'm quitting. And there was a... We won. There was... You're on a show called Tim and Larry. Guess where we got the inspiration for that?
For those nice. Who... I totally get it.
For anyone who's slow. Yeah, for anyone who's slow, it's Tom and Jerry. And you... and the mouse is a total diva off camera, on set, and finds out that in the next episode you're going to win. So he gets pissed off, and with the help of his fans, builds a spaceship and goes to the moon, which is made of cheese, and he's mining it, and he's going to take over the entirety of the moon, and you go to stop him.
Like Choo Choo Rocket?
Now, yeah, and
I always knew Jerry was a fucking asshole.
So you get your own spaceship, not with your not through the help of your fans, but they're like, you're the only one who really knows him. You've worked with him for so many years. Our teacher told us the reason we came up with such a ludicrous idea was our teacher told us, okay, your next project is you're going to be in a group of 4 people that you have never worked with in this class before, and you're going to make something that I have absolutely never heard of before. Go. It cannot even remotely sound like something that I have heard of. So we made this, and he goes...
That's a tall order.
Yeah.
So we made this. He goes, I have never heard of this. Good job.
No, he hasn't.
Someone else was like, okay, so there's this snowboarding game. He goes, SSX, Cool Borders, try again. He didn't take any shit. Someone's like, okay, so there's this medieval RPG. He goes, any of the Elder Scrolls games, go on. Try again.
Oh, man.
It was, and then we said art game. He goes, oh, that's good. And I had an idea. I was like, and we want to give this, it's going to be a comedy, kind of like Grim Fandango. He goes, you shouldn't have said that, but okay, go on. And I'm like, it's going to be a comedy. And I was like, we're going to have little bits that become developed later on. You're going to have the weapon salesman, and the weapon salesman is an anthropomorphic bald eagle with a trucker cap wearing camouflage, and he's fucking dumb. He's dumb, and he beer, and he sells all the weapons. American,
basically.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm like, I wonder how many people are either going to A, get that, B, be offended by that. But it's true.
I am A, but not B.
Yeah. And then we had I had another idea, because one of them had that idea, and I said, I have another idea. What if the reason he's mining the moon is because he read the script and got really depressed, and like out of grief, he's like going to eat the whole moon. like someone like crying and eating a tub of ice cream, like he's going to eat the moon. And they're like, I like that. Like at the end, that's what we're going to do. It's like, oh, you're not trying to destroy the moon. You want to devour the whole thing because you're sad.
It's like I want to make a joke about like if Brain realized he really did need Pinky, but I think that was actually something that was actually tackled in an episode of Pinky and the Brain once.
Yeah.
Didn't you hear they broke up?
I love that. I liked how they handled that episode. Yes, but yeah. So that's our idea. So like, and we have a hairball cannon, and you have to collect catnip around the level to use the hairball cannon. And you have your claws, which is the melee weapon, and then you have a mouse on a string, and that's a grappling hook. And yeah, our teacher was like, "This sounds like it could be okay. If you don't take it too seriously, then yeah, give this to kids and you're done.
Awesome.
Put it on Steam." I was like, "All right, cool." So we're making that, and it is kind of cool. But at this, other than that, really, what have I been doing? And it's like, I don't know. I was playing Neo Tokyo just now, and been playing League. Been getting into Smite. That's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, I need to start playing more of that because I spent $30 to get every damn thing in that game. Well, every character. I don't have like the skins and the voice packs and all the other shit that they still sell. But
there's only a couple skins I want. There's so much in that game though. There's only a couple skins I want. And speaking of that, there's so much that you'll see in Smite and go, that is blatantly ripped off from League. Absolutely, that is a ripoff of League, and it's difficult because it's like people are like, oh, the like how the game works, like the game mechanics. I go, no, that's not a ripoff of League. That's a MOBA.
Yeah,
that's a MOBA. Like the turrets and minions and like the map layout. And they're like, oh, League. It's like that's a MOBA. Look at any MOBA. That is how the MOBA works. But then they'll have, if for those who've played League, a wolf character who has an ability that makes him move and attack faster, and he has lifesteal. Oh, and his dance is the Thriller dance. Yeah, it's Warwick from League. There's they literally stole Warwick and said, "Oh, it's okay though because it's a real god."
Like
no,
I have to wonder if you were like offended or disgusted in any capacity when you saw that, or
absolutely. I was pretty pissed. I was like, yeah, you're fucking kidding me. Like I was like, it's a wolf character, and anybody could just immediately see a wolf character and go, oh, it's Warwick. But and in a MOBA, and I was like, no, I'm gonna give it a chance. I looked through his sets, and like he has an ability that makes him move and attack faster. He has lifesteal. Oh, and I was like, oh, that's pretty Warwick-ass Warwick. Well, let me just keep going. And his dance is Thriller.
Wow.
Fuck you! You stole Warwick, and he has the same deep voice. Like it's so Warwick. It's not funny. And that's just one god. That it gets a little blatant.
It's a good Warwick. Good Warwick / Inspector Gadget,
Dr.
Dr.
Claw.
Claw. The voice.
Dr. Claw.
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
One of my friends telling me about the figure they made of Dr. Claw like back in the day.
seeing
Oh
that.
my!
And how terrible it was.
Yep, I remember seeing that.
People see. There was a fan theory that Dr. Claw is Inspector Gadget. And stuff.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
He's brilliant then. I thought Agile was an idiot.
exactly. That's why he never gets
Either
it
that,
right.
or he's just really that insane that he constantly foils his own plans like that. Or
No. He's Dr. Insano.
Oh no!
Science. I haven't watched Spoonie in over a long time. I need to do that.
Yeah, so do I.
Unfortunately, I was immediately reminded of Adam Sandler's The Water Boy, and then I was like, I don't want.
Boy, shit, boy, shit.
No. It's like Adam
Not-
Sandler.
not- Not a huge fan of Adam Sandler, and it's sad because he can be in good comedies. He can be a funny guy. On top of that, I don't care what anyone says. He is actually a very talented actor. He really is. He'll be in some serious.
I believe that the popular theory is that his movies are not just an excuse to go to cool places and do interesting things.
Well, I'm sure
As a
nowadays
result,
because he
are.
totally has the money to do that.
As a result, they aren't that well scripted.
It's like, okay, like my opinion of Adam Sandler is I like him when he's just being himself. Like when he's the straight man, that's okay. Like The Wedding Singer, I like that. Even Happy Gilmore, like I like that movie. But like
I like Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, but like when he plays a character and he tries to do like a goofy voice, then I can't stand it. Now, granted, Waterboy I can watch and not be like weirded out, but like any other of his movies where like he tries to do like a voice or anything, no, it's like this is garbage. Like Little Nicky and fucking
Little Nicky sucked.
Oh god, yeah, that's a dumb movie. Like what?
I know what you're talking about. Where his twin sister.
Yeah,
What was the one when he got beat up by Bob Barker?
That was Happy Gilmore.
Oh, I thought like in real life he got beat up. I was like, that's
no. But Happy Gilmore, there's a bit where him and Bob Barker get in a fight, but
And
like
Bob Barker kicks the shit out of him.
yeah, but with the movies where he's trying to do like some dumb fucking voice, like yeah, Little Nicky's the other one, fucking the twin movie with Jack and Jill.
I thought Click was okay.
But
here.
Click is okay
Same
because he's not trying to do like a goofy voice and be a character. He's just a straight man. He's
and also that movie like it started out as a comedy and it's like and then once it starts once it starts doing the automatic fast forwarding and it gets dark. Not dark, but it gets like deep.
Yeah.
And that scene where his autopilot self like yells at his dad and makes him cry.
Man.
Every single goddamn time, I cannot help but tear up.
God, that is heavy.
I love.
Yeah.
He's standing there like rewinding over and over. I love your son. I'm like, oh my fucking god.
That is some heavy shit.
It's a good movie. I don't.
But yeah.
I wonder what critics think of that movie. I'm gonna look that up actually.
But like Jack and Jill, that's garbage. Fucking. That's My Boy, where him and Andy Samberg, that was fucking trash. That's
okay. It has a 32 on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't give a shit. That's a good movie.
Yeah,
Fuck
Click's
you.
alright. Like I said, Click's alright. That's a movie I can watch. But
yeah.
But like I said, the stuff where he's trying to play a character and be a character actor, no. No. That's
So
I think we talked too much about Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
So other than the game, other than the game and just kind of fucking around in games, not a whole lot else I've been up to. That's been about it actually.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I really look forward to seeing how the Cat and Mouse game turns out, though.
Yeah, I'm hoping it turns out pretty good.
I want that on Steam.
We finished our other one.
Nice.
Yeah, we finished sort of. We finished Cyber City Lockdown.
That's such a great title.
Yeah, I was like Cyber City Lockdown. Yeah.
Available on Steam for $5.
God, I wish.
I will pay 10.
Well, I mean, we would get free copies, obviously. Right, Garrett?
You're just milking him for this.
Right, Garrett?
Yeah. I wonder how Interstellar is going to be. I heard it was good. I heard, yeah. Like, I don't know.
So if you've got 3 hours to blow, then I'm not going to stop you. But I'll just let you keep that in mind that it is a 3-hour movie.
I'm gonna end my turn, by the way, so other people can go. Sorry.
Okay. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, but if we could talk about Interstellar, what was it about that real quick?
Interstellar, like, it... I'm not gonna say anything about it because I've read Movie Bob's article on it where he kind of goes in detail, kind of spoiling some of the movie, which I am not going to discuss here. All I'm going to say is that it is not something I recommend personally. It is something that tries really hard to be a Steven Spielberg-esque movie, but you will not be able to get past the fact that this is Christopher Nolan having to over-explain everything. So, and it is 3 hours. 3 hours. So, it is not going to be something that blows your mind. I will say that much at least. And if you are curious as to why this is not going to be as hype as trailers would have you believe, then just go look up Movie Bob's intermission article where he kind of he basically spoils it, and it pretty much, like, he doesn't spoil it to the extent of it sucks because they do because the story does this. He goes into it explaining that it kind of crashes and burns because he didn't hate this movie.
Coincidentally, 3 hours is the amount of sleep I'm going to get tonight after this podcast.
Yes, sorry.
If this keeps up.
But, yeah, I'll let you guys see that, and then you can make up your minds from there. But I am
Link in the show notes.
I'm just going to point out that it is a 3-hour movie, so bear that in mind. So, Brandon.
Hi.
What have you been doing?
After getting through exam hell, you know what exam hell is like. I don't need to talk about that.
Oh, yeah. We all
I
know
have
what that
been
is.
unwinding by playing a couple games. I've gotten farther in Shin Megami Tensei 4, and I'm getting to the point where every Shin Megami Tensei game has this point where you start getting a lot of like the really late game skills. As a result, the game gets a lot easier. And I'm at that point because I just fused to create Alice as a demon in my party. And if any of you are old Shin Megami Tensei fans, you know that Alice is usually one of the strongest personas demons in the entire game.
I have no idea.
Okay, for record, this is Alice from Alice in Wonderland.
Okay, because that's the first thing that came to my mind when you said that. I'm like, are they basing off that, or?
The reason she is strong is because, and when you level her up, she can transfer the skill over to your main character, a dark element instant death skill called Die for Me.
Oh, Jesus.
Which has a 95% chance of success on an enemy that is not resistant to it.
Okay.
Like, just no resistance whatsoever.
Sure.
Words.
And it works on all enemies. Like, it affects the entire enemy party.
Holy crap.
And she also has a skill called Debilitate, which lowers the stats of all of the enemy party. Like, for people who don't know, in SMT games, there's always a strong emphasis on buffing and debuffing your characters during a boss fight. And in Persona 3, for example, any buffs and debuffs will last 3 turns. In most of the SMT games, it'll last until someone nullifies the stat.
Yeah, like I'm used to seeing that
decrease.
Shit happen even outside of a fight in some cases.
Yeah. Like in SMT, those stat boosts will be until someone nullifies them in the middle of the fight. So debuffs and buffs are a lot more valuable. Because even if the enemy nullifies them, they still have to waste an entire turn nullifying your stat decrease.
Right.
So now that I've gotten some of those stronger skills in the game, it's become a lot easier because the boss fights mostly just weaken them, cripple their stats, and then just overpower them with elemental weaknesses.
And you've probably put fucking how many hours in by this point?
My clock says 48.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm level 52, my character-wise.
Usually I'm done with a JRPG by that point.
Well, the thing is that, if I had just been plowing through the main story, I'd probably get a lot farther than I was, but for some reason, I just want to do the side quests in this game.
Which is not something you could say about every other RPG, is when...
Definitely.
When the side quests are engaging.
Yeah, and it's... Because especially with side quests, a lot of times you'll get a special demon you can fuse out of the side quests. Like I just unlocked Thor and Odin to fuse in Cathedral of Shadows. Just by beating a side quest just a couple minutes before the podcast started.
Of course you're still playing it.
I'm not playing anymore, but
Okay.
I turned it off when the podcast recording. Although I probably should have turned it back on when you guys were talking about movies. But yeah, I've gotten farther. I'm starting to get to the point where you're supposed to make some really hardcore choices that affect your ending. But enough about that. I've also been playing Binding of Isaac Rebirth
Uh-oh.
because that came out this week.
Yeah, it did. You can use a controller now.
Yeah, I bought the PC version, but I also have the PS4 and the PS Vita versions for free via PS Plus. And I will say, having played the PC version for a long time with the first Binding of Isaac, I have 250 hours clocked in that game.
Holy
in
crap.
the old version. The new version is definitely a little nicer because it does enable controller support. And I don't know if you played the old Binding of Isaac, but after a while, if you're doing up, down, left, right on the keyboard and WASD to move, that really starts hurting your wrists.
Yeah, that was really the big reason why I could not play that game for long stretches of time, because I tried to do the whole thing of like joy to key and all this other bullshit.
Yeah. But now that it's just natively supporting the controller, that makes it so much less of a hell to play that game for long periods of time.
I see what you did there.
That was not even intentional.
I didn't think it was, but...
And if you have any other good puns, you can email them to thetexturepop@gmail.com.
I'm sure people will be right on that.
No, they won't.
I'll put it in the comments.
But the game does have a lot of changes. One of the biggest ones that I've noticed personally is that in the original Binding of Isaac, you have the hearts on top left of your screen.
Yes.
You knew how even if you had all 12 filled, you could still have more hearts on top of that just wouldn't display on the screen.
Okay.
In the Binding of Isaac, they have cut you off. You can now only have 12 hearts. That is the maximum hard-coded limit.
Which I guess makes sense, considering that... Because the original Binding of Isaac, that was really just Edmund McMillan's pet project, you know?
Yes, it really was. And he had no intention of even being successful.
No. It was surprising that it even saw the light of day. And
if you read the Gama Sutra post-mortem on Binding of Isaac, it's actually really fascinating.
Yeah. And for Rebirth, I mean, they really did just have to rebuild the game from the ground up, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, because they coded the original game in Flash, and Flash is a horrible program to program computer games in. But the reason that 12 hearts change is significant is because in the old game, when you had soul hearts, which were the blue armor hearts, that once you lost them, they were gone forever. You could stack those nigh infinity. So I could be like in the final dungeon of the game with like 50 hearts worth of health.
Jesus.
Because I would just keep stacking these soul hearts forever and ever.
Right.
But in the new version, since 12 is the hard-coded limit, when you have your hearts filled, if you have a soul heart and you're at 12 max hearts, you cannot pick it up.
Right.
Which really does limit the health by a significant factor. And it's really interesting to see how that does change the way you play the game. Because you can't just go in guns blazing anymore.
Right. So, as somebody that put a lot of time into the previous game, like, I'm curious what you think of, like, some of the other, like, real aesthetic changes to it. Like, the art style is not dramatically different, but, I mean, it was enough.
I like the new art style, personally. A lot of people I've talked to don't like it a lot, but I found myself, I thought it was just fine.
Yeah, because there were a lot of people that bitched about it, you know, thinking, like, oh, this is bullcrap.
And since I'm playing it on the Vita a lot now, since I have that option, and it makes it for a pretty good portable game, I rarely ever notice it because you play it on the smaller screen.
Yeah, I mean, even if you depending on how close or far away you're holding that thing, but I know, and I'll admit, like I saw Jeff Gerstmann's quick look about it, and I got to admit, because I haven't tried the game yet. But I gotta admit, even I might be a little put off by the idea that you can't shoot diagonally. I mean, I know that's by design, but...
Well, if you're smart, what you can do is you can accelerate your character to the left and right as you're shooting up, and that will impart momentum onto the shot.
Yeah.
And that's how you shoot vertically.
Yeah,
And something you have to
they're-
actually, it requires some skill to get used to it. But once you do, it's really easy.
Yeah, there is a decent amount of physics to how your shots and
Yeah.
everything work, but it's still kind of weird. Like your instincts, you want to keep holding the stick diagonally to do something, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
But
something I would get
just
over.
the fact that you have a controller in your hands makes
Yes.
the game so much more bearable.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the other changes are really interesting because there's a lot of new content they added to this game. And Binding of Isaac, the first game, already had an impressive amount of content in
Yes.
it for a game that's randomly generated.
I know
So-
one of the other really big things was that the soundtrack is different.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and I'm not sure. I haven't really come to a conclusion whether or not which soundtrack I like better. Although, probably since by virtue of the fact that I've heard it so much more, and I've already been used to it so often, I'm still leaning more towards the old soundtrack.
Yeah, because the old one,
Even though the new one's still not is still really good.
yeah,
Don't
as long as it kind of still pulls off that whole really like super haunting tone,
Yeah.
like that the original theme had.
Oh yeah, because the original game and even especially this new one really well. It's a really dark game.
Yes.
It is a really dark game. Even like just from the first minute of your play, you can tell
Yep.
this is not a game made by someone who is
Shit and blood everywhere.
yeah. You beat the feces away by crying at it.
So yeah, it is super fucked up.
I mean, when you upgrade your damage, it's blood tears too.
Yeah, as well as like some of the crazy shit, like having a fucking like a power up is a clothes hanger through your head, and like
Or the fact that the belt gives you a speed boost.
yeah, and I think there was one I saw where it was just like it was like matches, and then your face just looked like it had been burned. Like
Well, no. There's a toothpick one, and it's jamming the toothpick into your eye to make you cry better
yeah,
by holding your eyelids open.
yeah, it's so fucked up.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about Binding of Isaac, and it's kind of creepy at the same time. But one of the things I like about it is that as you acquire power ups, your character model actively changes throughout the course of a run in the game.
Yes, which is a good thing.
Which both helps you visually keep track of the kind of power ups you've gotten throughout the game, and it just something that's really cool. But it's a really, really great update, and I find that one of the problems that a lot of people had with the old Binding of Isaac was that the old game was really bad at giving you feedback as to what your items did when you acquired them, to the point where it almost required you to have a wiki open as you were playing.
Yeah, I'm sure some people would probably still say the same thing about this one.
That is that problem. No, there's no denying it, but it's to a lesser extent because the game, since the coding is a lot more lenient in this game than it was in the Flash version,
Yeah,
it allowed them to put a bit more text on the descriptions of items that better helped. Instead of like a simple tears up, damage up on the bottom right corner of the screen, when you get an item, it'll have like a text blurb. That's more like a riddle as opposed to what the item does, as opposed to like a quick like 2-word description on the bottom right. Like, for example, when you pick up the Magician tarot card, it will say the Magician's actual effect is homing shots, but it won't say homing shots. You have to figure that out by yourself, but it will give you a riddle on the screen that'll kind of help you decipher what the item's effect is, or help keep track of them in your head. So you still have to figure out what the item does, but it's a lot less of a hassle than it would be. But I would still probably recommend getting a wiki, if I'm being honest.
Garrett, did you ever play Binding of Isaac at all, or?
Not a whole lot. I played a demo of it, and it was actually I think it was the Flash version, and it was good. I could see it getting really repetitive.
Yeah.
And
The game is designed for you to play it multiple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see why it got so popular. But
Because the way the game
it was
works is
fun.
that you have this default set of items that you can use in runs. And as you play the game over and over again, you unlock new items and new floors and new different things you can add to each successive run, like new characters you can start out with, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And that way the game is different because every time you have these new items you can acquire in your runs that change the game in their own way. For example, there's an item in the old game that you had to unlock called Dr. Fetus, and Dr. Fetus turned your tears into bombs.
Right.
And that really changes how you play that game because you can't be next to someone and shoot your tears because you will blow yourself up along with him.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone knows where Dr. Fetus came from, right? Super
Yes.
Blood.
Yeah.
I mean, the unlockable characters really were like the only progressive thing that you could unlock, though. Like, yeah, there are items in the game, but it's not like the items stuck with you. They were just these things.
It unlocked them for you to acquire randomly in a future run.
Yeah. So,
that also made it the best item in the game as a result of this dynamic was the D6. And once you unlock it, Isaac starts out with the D6. And what that does is when you find an item that you don't like in the dungeon, you can use the D6 to re-roll it.
So that's not bad. That's...
So it's an interesting game. It's definitely not for everyone. No way in hell is it for everyone. But if you find yourself interested in roguelike mechanics, it's definitely something. It's definitely worth at least studying.
Yeah, for $15.
Yeah, and the old Flash version's like $5.
Yeah, because it is kind of nice that for people who looked at Rebirth and said, "Oh, this is shit," you could still get the original game.
If you have a PlayStation Plus account, you have no excuse because it's fucking free.
Yeah, but
it's free for the rest of the month.
If you want to play this on consoles, the Rebirth edition is the only way you can play it, though.
Yes, correct.
I still remember reading stories. I think at one point they tried to get this on Wii U, and Nintendo was like, "Nope."
I can't blame Nintendo for that.
It's like I can't imagine why.
I'm honestly surprised Sony improved of it. To be perfectly honest with you, although it does make a great Vita game.
Yeah, I can totally imagine like playing that on the run. So,
and one of the best things they added about the new one. Sorry if I'm ranting, but they added a feature where you can exit your run at any point in the game, and you can just quick save it. So instead of because in the old game, if you wanted to quit your run, you had to be done with that run.
Yeah,
correct?
Yeah.
And if you had an hour progress and you were at the final boss and you had to leave, fuck you. You had to deal with it. In this game, if that happens, you can just exit your run, and the next time you pull up the game, it'll resume the run where you left off. So that's definitely a handy feature to have.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you were playing this on a portable. So
yeah, and that's almost required. But it's definitely a noticeable step up in terms of overall presentation of the game.
Awesome.
And aside from that, the one last thing I was doing this week is a couple friends and I got together on Friday and I played my first game of One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
I still don't know what that is.
It's based on a party game called Werewolf.
Oh, so this is like the tabletop thing, right?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
total tabletop game.
Okay.
Yeah, and the premise is that you and your friends are in a village, so some medieval village, doesn't really matter, and there is a werewolf amongst your group. There's 2 of them, and your job as the villagers is to figure out who is the werewolf and to lynch them.
Okay.
So the way this game works is that you shuffle a deck of cards because there's a set of cards that you can choose to use. Different cards have different roles in the game. And if you want to hear more detailed explanation, they have played it a couple times on Table Flip, which is done by Game Grumps.
Okay.
They played a couple times with Ashley Birch and a couple of other people.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And the way it works is that every person is dealt a card, and there are 3 cards in the center. And throughout the night, different roles have different effects, and at the end, you might not have the same card that you started out with. So in the next 10 minutes, you have to discuss amongst yourselves based on what happened in the night and what everyone else knows who the werewolf is. And the werewolf is obviously his job is make sure that no one else figures out who he is. So he has to lie his ass off in order to pull that off.
Is it like that game Guess Who? Where it's like, are you allergic to silver? No.
So at the end of whatever time limit you have set, the entire group votes, and whoever gets the most votes gets lynched. And if the village lynched a werewolf, they win. And if the werewolves got someone else who's not a werewolf lynched, they win.
Mm.
And there are a couple of other cards they added to the game, like the Tanner. And the Tanner is a character who wants to die. He's technically a villager, but not on the village team. So his objective is to get people to think he's a werewolf and get himself killed.
Okay, that's super grim.
And there are a couple of other characters, like the Troublemaker, who can switch to characters' cards randomly in the middle of the night.
Oh man!
Or the Robber, who can steal one other person's card and then take a look and see what it was, and then become that card. So roles can change dramatically over the course of one night, and the objective is to just kind of sort all the chaos out to figure out who is the actual werewolf and kill him at the end of the game. And it's really interesting. It plays differently almost every time you play the game.
Fun for the whole family. Lynch
Yeah,
your
and
friends.
it's available for 3 to 10 players.
That's pretty cool.
So that was my week. So what have you been doing, Chris?
Oh, so I've still been helplessly addicted to Hyrule Warriors still.
I see.
Sam and I both have been. It's like seeing.
I mean, I've talked about SMT4 for the past 2 weeks now, so I have no room to talk.
Yeah, and because of this show, we at least try to play something different. But damn it all, if I can't stay away from Hyrule Warriors long enough because of some of the shit that I want to unlock. And at one point, I mean, I kind of set, a milestone for myself to where I was like, okay, I'm going to unlock every character, and then I'm going to finally get to Bayonetta 2. That didn't happen. I unlocked every character, and then I'm like...
But I still want to play more.
Maybe I can go after the gold Skulltulas. And now I'm at a point where I am playing through the main story mode again, but on harder difficulty.
Well, I'll tell you what I told Sam a couple of times in the past is that games are not meant to be work. If you're going to a different game because you feel like you have to, then it becomes work. You don't want your games to be work.
I genuinely want to play Bayonetta, especially considering all of the wonderful stuff I've been hearing about it.
But very obviously, you want to play Hyrule Warriors more.
Yes, because I want to... There's some shit that I think that I very well can unlock, and I want to try to do that, and I'm not going to be happy until I clear every fucking map.
So my advice to you is, if you truly want to play Hyrule Warriors more, just fucking play Hyrule Warriors more and enjoy it, and don't feel bad about not getting to Bayonetta 2.
I have been, and I mean, and the thing is, I know this is by design because that's what because considering, what critics have said about this is what Omega Force does with their Dynasty Warriors games, is that they have a shit ton of stuff that you can unlock in this, and that you could very well keep going forever. And I could have done the same thing with the Fist of the North Star, but I did not, because I genuinely did want to do something else. And Fist of the North Star, I'll be honest, it was kind of wearing on me to that point. I was like, okay, you know what? I really want to break from this. I'm sorry. Hyrule Warriors has not had that on me yet. I only get that way if, like, I play a level and it goes bad and I end up losing. I'm like, fuck this game. And then half hour later I end up going back to it and I'm like, okay, let me try this one more time. Yeah, or until the fucking gamepad battery goes out on me. I've been having that happen because I find myself playing more often. Then I have a fucking wiki pulled up so I can see, like, okay, where do I go to do this and unlock this thing? And it's for adventure mode, like, it's nuts. But aside from that, so back when Sony was having their whole Sale of the Dead that they were doing back in Halloween, I bought a digital copy of Dante's Inferno.
I'm sorry.
On my PS3, and play that game again. It's not too bad, and I'm kind of seeing, like, I can kind of see how I was into this, and then it didn't take long until I ended up getting to parts where I'm like, oh, this is why I got super frustrated with this. Yeah, because some of the combat scenarios they end up throwing you into, like, it gets kind of ridiculous at some of the shit they throw at you, and you're like, man, God of War had a better way of balancing this. Because Dante's Inferno was a game I did play to completion, and
Again, I'm sorry.
yeah, I played that whole thing, and I still remember getting to that one part near the end where you do like this fucking trials, which, you know, as the general consensus is, that was bullshit, and it just
That's
seems
the part where EA hires people to protest in the front door and in resistance to Dante's Inferno in order to drum up publicity, right?
Not really that, but like in the game, there is near the end of it, before you get to the final boss, there are like these trials that you play through, and this seemed like something that it just felt so out of place to, like, you know, build up your combo this to this high, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like this should be in the main game. This feels like something you put in like the extras menu, and it's like, here's a challenge mode, because that's what this felt like. And it just seemed as if they were doing it to prolong the length of the game. Like, they probably should have just done something else here, but instead of making actual level, here are these trials you got to play through. And I still remember seeing videos of people struggling with this part. I know I had to play through it like 3 times before I got to the end of it, and then finding the final boss with Satan and his gigantic horse cock. That, yeah, people who've played the end of Dante's Inferno know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, just look up the boss battle video. But keep in mind, that's not going to be safe for work, because as I said, Satan has a giant penis that's just hanging there, and it's in full view. And
Yeah, you showed me before.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it again.
yeah, and then also I can't. Aside from the game itself, something that I was reminded of when I saw
Texture Pop, episode 16, Satan's Big Floppy Dick.
Yep, that should be the title of this. What do you think, Garrett?
I don't know.
But
Explain that to the kids.
Yeah.
but but something that I was reminded of that
Lee, what are you watching? Satan's Big Floppy Dick.
but something that I was reminded of, because while I'm somewhat familiar with the original literature of the Divine Comedy, I didn't know like everything that was described in it, and having not actually read it, but reading various studies and like educational stuff that had talked about it. But something that I was reminded of after a very good friend of mine told me about a Let's Play series, which was incredibly funny to watch, done by Loading Ready Run, and they played through Dante's Inferno, and one of the guys that they had sitting with them during the whole LP was a guy who, he read the Divine Comedy and he studied it, so he was basically there to call bullshit on like a lot of the stuff that they had done in the game and like what the comparisons were. Now, granted, there are some things that you could almost say were kind of almost true to source material and the way they try to describe some of the stuff. However, there is one thing that I thought was fucking hilarious about the whole game and the double standards and crazy bullshit of like what was acceptable to put in this game and what was not. And a lot of people will tell you like some of the most memorable things about Dante's Inferno is just some of the fucked up imagery that is in there. Like Cleopatra being this giant topless boss chick, and she has nipples coming, or tongues coming out of her nipples, and like demon babies are coming out of them. So that's one visual that's okay. And as we mentioned earlier, Satan's giant floppy dick, that's okay to put in your game.
But
like the big lust sex storm and stuff that goes on, that's okay. The demon infant babies, that's okay. But the ring of hell that deals with sodomy, they skipped that whole thing. Now, granted, I'm
Yeah.
sure some people would probably say, like, by today's standards, doesn't sodomy just get lumped in with lust? At the time when Dante wrote the Divine Comedy, sodomy was kind of, because people were a lot more ignorant than they were today, and people just kind of thought that homosexuality and sodomy was just on a different level than just people being lustful, So, so the idea of having a ring of hell separate between lust and sodomy kind of made sense. Although, granted, Divine Comedy wasn't really meant to be taken seriously, as Garrett and I and you and I had discussed.
Yes.
And so, but yeah, so all of the stuff I just mentioned, tongue nipples, Satan's dick, evil babies, that's all okay, but you skip the whole thing about sodomy.
I propose a renaming of the episode. Now it's Satan's dick and tongue nipples.
Sam, I can't wait to see Sam's reaction to that one. What the fuck are you talking
Episode
about?
16, Satan's dick and tongue nipples.
But yeah, like that's okay to put in your game, but apparently sodomy is where you drew the line. Like, really? Like, and
I draw a line at tongue nipples.
Oh man, and I still can't help but remember like some of the dumb bullshit in video game marketing that EA like had hired people to stage their own protest.
That was during the Dead Space 3 fiasco too, wasn't it? Or Dead Space 2 fiasco.
Yeah, I want to say
With your mom will hate this game.
I think so, but the thing was like Visceral. I think Visceral made Dead Space 2 first, and then they made Dante's Inferno later, because it was the same development team.
I remember release happened that same year. But EA was getting a lot of shit.
Yeah, I don't think it was far apart.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, no, I think... Was it? Shit, I'd have to look it up to be sure which one came first, Dante's Inferno or Dead Space 2. I know they weren't too far apart from each other, but yeah, just I don't know, like, because Dante's Inferno. If I was gonna buy that game again, like I did, which was on a sale for $10 plus all of the DLC, which really DLC for this game, I think the most interesting thing was this thing called Trials of St. Lucia, which was their way of putting a online co-op into it, which wasn't a bad idea, and then all of the crazy costumes and. There is some microtransaction-esque bullshit in some of the Dante's Inferno DLC, like, playing the game, you acquire souls, right? And souls are what you use as currency to buy upgrades. They were straight up selling soul packs that you could buy, which anybody who's played Dead Space 3 would probably say these are kind of familiar.
Get that tungsten, man.
So when
tungsten.
Yeah, so when I bought the $10 version of Dante's Inferno on PSN, which was the quote-unquote complete edition, it came with all these fucking soul packs, and I was like, oh yeah, these were in there. But of course, main reason I bothered with the DLC is like, I'll play as Dante in this goofy-ass Disco Inferno suit that they give him. Because they gave him a costume.
Disco Inferno, I get it.
Yeah, they give him a costume that is called Dante's Disco Inferno, and it is basically just him in this white disco outfit.
I get it.
That I find completely hilarious, and I would enjoy playing the game again with him dressed like that.
Hear a terrible pun?
Yep, it is a very terrible pun.
Do you want to hear a different one?
No, but you're probably going to do it anyway.
What is a pirate's favorite letter?
I'm not even answering that.
What do you think it is?
I already know this. We.
Yeah, I said R, and you said it was.
Oh, I did that. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't do it on the show. You said this between us, like in a previous conversation or something or other. Like his love is the sea. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever.
Back to Dante.
Actually, I think I've said all I needed to say about Dante. It's a stupid game, but
So when do you unlock Devil Trigger?
You actually get that not too far into it, and I think it's fuck, I forget what they call it. It is basically a mode akin to something like Devil Trigger or like the Rage mode in God of War, where it's like, here's this meter and it builds up, and then
Rage of Olympus.
When you push both sticks in, you do this invincibility thing, and you can do more damage and whatever. I don't remember what it was called. Like, it's probably something stupid like Retribution mode or something fucking dumb like that.
It's a typical Rage mode that
Yes.
these kinds of games are known to have.
Yes, it is. I wonder if I'm actually going to play through it again. Maybe I will. I don't know. Because I will say this about Dante's Inferno, because I did like the fact that it does the whole New Game Plus thing of you get to keep all your skills, you can play through it again. Although, the reason I didn't keep my original 360 copy was, do I really want to play through this again? I don't know. And then proceeded to get rid of that. And, of course, now I've bought it and it's on my fucking PSN account, and playing it again because I'm an idiot. But it seemed festive for Halloween, so... yeah, that was basically it, though. Is Dante's Inferno and Hyrule Warriors, and Hyrule Warriors is going to continue to eat up more of my time. So tune in next week when I fucking talk about that again. Sam, too, more than likely, because Sam also has a Wii U, and possibly because of me, I egotistically want to believe it is also partially my fault that he got Hyrule Warriors with his Wii U. Although, unfortunately, I feel bad because on my recommendation, he bought a 2 terabyte external hard drive, and I guess it didn't work. But it's not a total loss because he just decided to use it on his PC. So, I don't know. I was under the impression that you could hook in a 2 terabyte hard drive into that thing. But maybe I'm wrong. But I think with that, this will probably be a good place to call it. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, so, thank you for listening in, and like I said, remember, if you want to send us a question, story, comment,
Or
whatever...
bad pun.
Feel free, bad pun, feel free to email us at thetexturepop@gmail.com, and we'll more than likely read your stuff on the air, because we don't get enough of these, so...
Yeah.
It's not like we have as much of a
We don't get
mailbox.
enough of these to bother filtering out any of.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you start saying some creepy shit in it, and then it's like, yeah, of course we're going to filter that out. So, but that hasn't happened yet.
Don't tempt it, Brian.
No. Who?
I'm hoping that there's at least one person in our audience named Brian. I hope I scared the shit out of him just now.
We can see you.
Some
Probably
random guy.
not your name, audience viewer, but if your name is Brian, I hope you got scared the shit scared out of you just now.
Maybe.
Happy
But-
late Halloween, fucker.
Yeah, that's right. We keep celebrating Halloween long after the fact, especially considering how often people leave their fucking Christmas lights up after New Year's. Fuck it. But that's going to do it for us, and we'll catch you next week on another episode of the Texture Pop Podcast. Later.
Same Texture Pop time, same Texture Pop place.
Channel.
Bye, guys.